I love using the lips as a canvas, and it's a great way to express your funky side with crazy lip art. Hi, I'm Mishti Max, and I'm here to share these The Spike Lips. They're based on the Jeffrey Campbell The Spike Lita boots, which I dearly love. I wanted to revisit the idea of full spiked lips, which I first envisioned in my Abbey Dawn heel-inspired lips a year ago. However, I didn't want to be derivative, so I made sure to bide my time patiently and finally create this black badass version. I used the 6mm and 3mm spikes from the Born Pretty store, and if you want to get some for yourself, there's a link in the description box and a code for 10% off any order. So go forth and get spiked. The first thing I do before every lip art is moisturize my lips. The best lip treatment I've ever used is the Bepanthen ointment, which is used for babies' butts and mothers' nips, but I assure you that it is excellent for a night lip treatment. I simply smear some over my lips with my finger and let that sit there for a while. As you can see, it gives a delightful creamy white lip that's just so very attractive. But seriously, it really helps to soften your lips, and when it has soaked in for a couple of minutes, I use a cotton bud to remove the excess and also exfoliate my lips to get rid of any cruddy dead skin. Then I'm priming my lips with MAC Prep and Prime Lip Base to smooth out the surface and fill in any lines. It also prevents lipsticks from bleeding or feathering. I'm getting out my Urban Decay 24/7 eye pencil in Perversion, and I'm going to line and fill in my lips. The reason I'm using an eye pencil and not a lip liner is because it is more pigmented and waterproof too. I'm not completely making my lips opaque, but once I've got plenty of that pencil on, I'm whipping out my new Melt Cosmetics lipstick. And this one is in Bane, their matte black one, and I'm applying that to my lips, as one would expect. I haven't used this lipstick before today, and so far I can say that it is actually pretty stiff, as in it drags on the skin a bit when you apply it, but it is incredibly pigmented and delightfully matte. For any drawing outside the lines, you can just take a cotton bud and wipe your mistake away in towards your lip line, and then reapply any foundation that got scrubbed away. And if the mood should strike you, sing along to Let's Get Retarded by the Black Eyed Peas. But that's an optional step. And now I'm redefining the edges with the pencil and removing the excess in the center. And a drum roll for the part we've all been waiting for, the kick-ass spikes from Born Pretty. I'll be using the 6mm silver ones, and these smaller ones that are 3mm, and quite a bit sharper than the big ones. I'm going to adhere the spikes with the Duo Eyelash Adhesive in clear, and to apply that I'll be using the end of a cotton bud and a toothpick. I'm preparing the glue by squirting some out on a plastic baggie on my desk, so the glue gets sticky and tacky, so it will grab onto the spikes quicker. Then I'm dipping the end of the cotton bud into the glue and applying it on my lips where I think the spikes will look good. I'm dabbing on large spots for the big spikes and smaller ones for the little lighter spikes, as they don't need as much glue to hold them on. I'm fanning the glue and letting it dry a bit, and then I'm pouring out the spikes from the little baggies. Here you can see the sweet babies, which are conical in shape and have a flat surface to stick on your lips. I'm going to use tweezers to pick up the spikes because they are too heavy to manipulate with my beloved Embellie Gellie. And I'm holding some of both sizes of spikes in my hand so I can efficiently and quickly whack them on my lips. And here starts the titillating journey of picking up the spikes with the tweezers, placing the flat surface on the glue dot, and using my finger to press down on the tip of the spike for a few seconds to make sure the glue has grabbed onto the spike's butt. The tiny spikes stick quicker than the large ones that need to be held on for longer because their weight tries to peel them off your lips. I don't really have a design planned out, but I'm trying to disperse the spikes evenly and in an aesthetically appealing array. I'm picking out the main points where I want the large ones and fitting the tiny spikes in between those. A good tip is to apply the central spikes before you apply the ones on the outer edges, so you don't knock off all your hard work trying to get around and fit in between all that 3D madness. You could also start from one corner of your mouth and work across your lip if you wanted, and you can add spikes in between. It's just a bit more inconvenient. I went for a toothpick to apply the glue for the smallest spikes so I wouldn't get too much excess of the glue showing up around the spikes. I went for a few more small spikes on the top lip and placed them on the apex of my cupid's bow in a little triangle, which works well for an angular pointed cupid's bow shape. Although this glue dries clear, not white like it appears fresh, you still don't want much shiny glue showing up on the matte black lip. And don't worry if you don't like where you placed a couple of the spikes. I applied these two big spikes too low down on my top lip, and I wanted them to be more in the middle of my lip, so I quickly removed them before the glue had set and used a cotton bud to remove the residual glue, then reapplied the pencil and lipstick to give a nice black base and went back in to stick the spikes where I thought they looked better. Depending on your lip shape and size, you can fit more or less spikes, but pretty much place them as densely as you want. I really went extreme with this lip. However, with this configuration, I can still close my lips, and if you're wearing this lip out to a metal gig, make sure you place them so your lips comfortably close and avoid the large ones on the center or fang ones pointing down. Since the glue dries shiny, I brought out Sugar Pill Bulletproof, a matte black eyeshadow, and used this small brush from the Urban Decay Electric palette to matte down the area around the spikes. I carefully dabbed on the eyeshadow anywhere I could see the glue showing. It's the same principle as adding some eyeliner over your false eyelashes to obscure the glue. And that's the exciting conclusion to these black spiked lips. I had some wacky fun posing with the inspirational shoe like I did in my other video, and you can check out the link in the description box to see how far I've come in a little over a year with my tutorial creating techniques. I have a tutorial on the simple operation of removing spikes, rhinestones, or anything that you've stuck to your lips with eyelash glue, and you can find that in the description box too. As I said, I'm using false eyelash glue here, which only holds the embellishments on for a short time, and it's fine for creating lip art, but if you want to wear something like this out for longer, I would suggest Prozade, which is a special effects adhesive. Some people have asked me if the spikes are reusable, and they definitely are. I was really excited to finally create this lip art, and I have many more ideas for spiky lips, so if you're into that kind of stuff, subscribe and hang out for more sharp and fierce tutorials.
Click the little boxes.